Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pizzapia, and with me today are not one, but two Andrews. That's right, we've got Andrew Erickson, the Andrew you know, who is always here every single week with me, and another Andrew, who you might know from Fantasy Pros. He's also the host of the Rest of Season Rankings pod. It's Andrew Seifter is going to join us, and we're going to talk trade today because we are getting very close to that trade deadline. So we're going to jump right in, and we're going to talk about the running backs here to start. Let's talk about the RBs, and let's talk about the most traded RBs on the Sleeper app. And Andrew S., that's right, Seifter, we'll start with you. Let's talk about Alvin Kamara. Are you somebody that's buying, selling, or holding, especially with the news that we could possibly get Jameis Winston back under center yet again in the carousel that is the New Orleans quarterback situation?
Yeah, the carousel that's crashing down to earth every single week. I would have loved to have sold Alvin Kamara after that 3-touchdown game a few weeks ago.
Yeah. But it's so hard to do that, right? Because you finally get it. You're waiting, and then you get that one. Exactly. And then you just want to live in that. And you know what? He's had 14 half PPR points in 2 games combined since. So how about that?
Exactly. So I kind of feel like he's a hold now just for that reason. Like, it's hard to sell him after these last 2 games he's had. But on the year, he's only been a top 18 fantasy back 3 times on the season. And this Saints offense it just stinks. I mean, it stinks with Andy Dalton. It theoretically could be a little better with Jameis Winston, but I'm not sure it's better for Kamara because Jameis is not really known for checking down in the running backs. So I think it might be good for a Chris Olave, maybe not for an Alvin Kamara. So I'm holding him probably because he hasn't been so great lately, but the upcoming schedule is pretty brutal too. The next 3 weeks, he's got the Rams, the 49ers, and the Bucks. And then he's on a bye. So you're hoping you can just survive to the fantasy playoffs where he's got a little bit better schedule there. So that's kind of the hope. But if I could get like name brand value for Kamara, I'd do it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, too, the fact that he's still got to buy, that's something, too, you have to consider. If you're fighting for your life right now, you might be able to take some other pieces that might help you because he's not going to help you get there necessarily in that 1 week where he's not available, not to mention things haven't gone in the right direction when Jameis Winston was there earlier in the year. So we shall see how this all shakes out because I'm going to offer trades. That's what I do. Trader Joe is back, everybody, which is not just an awesome grocery store, but a place where we make deals here at Fantasy Pros. Erickson, let's hop over to you. Alvin Kamara or Kenneth Walker III the rest of the season? Who would you rather have? Walker coming off a down game too. He's on a bye this week. So who would you rather have rest of season? Walker coming fresh off that bye or Alvin Kamara with the potential change in QB?
I'm taking Kenneth Walker. I mean, I know it was a down game from his rusher, but he still saw 100% of the backfield opportunities. Like, they're not giving the ball to Travis Homer. He had 8 targets. Like, so he has a 3-down skill set. You're excited about that. So I'm going to stick with Kenneth Walker here.
All right, same thing for you, Seifter. You're going to stick with Ken Walker also, the younger
Absolutely.
back?
And you hit the key issue there. The fact that he was so involved in the pass game target rate over 24% last week, double what it had been in any previous week. I mean, like, he's a little bit of a boomer bust player. He'll have like 5 runs for 1 yard and then break off like a 60-yard touchdown. But if you know that he also is going to be catching some passes, that really boosts that floor as well. So it's one of those games where it was a disappointing stat line, but it was encouraging for the rest of the season outlook.
Well, encouraging because game script went another direction, he was still involved. I think that's the thing. Like, you want to see him still involved. At one point, I think he had 7 carries for 8 yards in that game. Because I remember we were doing live stream during that game, and I kept live looking in, and it was not pretty. But all of a sudden, he started catching balls there in the 3rd and 4th quarter and started to turn around. He's got Vegas, the Rams, and Carolina, too, coming out of that bye after the next 3 weeks. So we shall see what happens there. How about Rhamondre Stevenson, who is fresh off his own bye here? Seifter, would you rather have him or Alvin Kamara rest of season?
This one made me pause for a little because I'm always hesitant to trust Bill Belichick to feed one running back. But, I think Rhamondre Stevenson has shown enough. And the fact that he also is a back that is just a weapon in the passing game. I mean, he caught a really nifty touchdown a couple weeks back. I don't see Damian Harris coming in and getting the kind of workload that he was getting early in the year. Maybe he still is in for 35% of the snaps. But I think Stevenson is going to be the lead back. And I just feel like the upside there is higher than with Kamara. So it might be a little controversial, but I think I would take Stevenson over Kamara.
Now, Erickson, old habits die hard, as Seifter was just saying. So, learning the Bill Belichick sometimes doesn't really care about your fantasy team. it's a tough thing to kind of get over, but I'm over it. I'm taking Stevenson in this deal. Are you going to make it a 3-way sweep here?
Yeah, I'm taking Stevenson. I think it's important to hit on Kamara's schedule. Like the other Andrew had mentioned, like it's horrible over the next 4 weeks. Like really, if you're trying to buy Kamara, you're just doing it because he plays the Falcons, Browns, and Eagles in the playoffs. So the only way I could see myself trading for Kamara or favoring over Stevenson is that I feel great about, like, I'm locked and loaded to the playoffs. I can get Kamara for pennies on the dollar, and I cannot like you him as like an RB3 on my roster and then unleash him during the playoffs.
But do you wonder if maybe the Saints are just out of it by then too, and maybe they're just kind of like, we don't even need to play Alvin Kamara at this point. Not that they have their first round pick, but they might just be
right?
shutting it down like the Rams by then.
Oh, the Rams situation. We'll get to more of that. Don't worry. We'll get some Rams stuff in there when we talk wide receivers on trade stuff in another show. Let's continue on. Let's talk about Aaron Jones, also very highly traded in the Sleeper app right now. Aaron Jones, piece of the puzzle that a lot of people had high expectations for. Now we're sitting here in week 11. So Andrew Erickson, I'm going to ask you this. You want to buy, you want to sell, or do you want to hold Aaron Jones?
I think that I would probably try to sell Aaron Jones just off of the big game for him here. Look, this Packers offense has sucked for 9 weeks of the year. They have one good game against the Cowboys, and now we're all back in. Is that what's happening here? Like, oh, they're back.
I don't know who this we is you talk about, but I've
Pack
heard
is
of
back. No, I've seen too much of this Packers offense operate dysfunction. Yes, they are a run-heavy team, and they're featuring the running backs, and that's obviously good for Aaron Jones, but I'm trying to sell high, especially with, he came back from his ankle injury, and he looked okay, but the fact that he still had, Cooper Kupp looked okay after his ankle injury, and then re-aggravated, and he just got surgery. So I try to shy away from these types of players. Just Green Bay's a bad offense overall, and if I can sell high on one of their running backs, especially their starter, I would like to do so.
He's another guy with a week 14 bye too, still looming there. What's interesting, he's got Tennessee, he's got Philly, he's got Chicago coming up the next 3 weeks. He's also been an RB1 3 of the last 4 weeks. So I'm surprised that you wanted to move on there, because I think I actually want to hold him because I don't believe in anything else in this offense. Break the tie here, Seifter. You're the guy here. What do you want to do with Aaron Jones?
I'm going to side with you, Joe. It's kind of the opposite of the Kamara situation for me. Like, I would have wanted to buy Aaron Jones after he flopped against the Lions, but then after the big game,
especially because expectations were so high that week too.
Yeah, I mean, who would have predicted that he would be awful against Detroit and then great against Dallas? That's not the way that anyone had written it up, but that's fantasy football for you, I guess, right? But yeah, I mean, after this Tennessee game, he doesn't have another tough matchup until week 17 against Minnesota, so that's a nice stretch of games there. And I know we've been saying this all year, but it sort of makes sense for the Packers to lean on him. Like when he's had good games this year, they've tended to win those games. So they're on the outskirts trying to get into that playoff hunt, and he's their best player, and he has, like you said, been doing better lately. So maybe they're starting to get the recipe right finally. I don't know why he doesn't see more touches week in and week out, but when he does, they win. So maybe they're finally getting that right, and I'm willing to at least hold him coming off of that big game.
All right, Seifter, let's see if you do want to hold him after this trade I offer you. DeAndre Swift and DJ Moore for Aaron Jones. Would you make that trade? What side do you want to be on?
If it was just DeAndre Swift, it'd be a slam dunk for Aaron Jones. When you throw,
I know, I can hear that as you were saying. So yeah, I would still rather have
negotiations. Unless you're super desperate, I would rather have Aaron Jones. I'm kind of fading DJ Moore now again with Baker Mayfield back under center. I don't think that's good news for DJ Moore. And I mean, if it's a really deep league, you got to fill 2 spots. Maybe you get desperate enough. But generally speaking, I still see Jones as like a borderline RB1. So that's a lot better than DeAndre Swift getting 6 touches a week and DJ Moore trying to catch passes from Baker Mayfield.
This feels like that classic, here's a bunch of bodies, give me the better player kind of trade, which we see often in the fantasy space. Erickson, do you want the bodies or you want Aaron Jones? Swift or Moore or Jones? Who do you want?
Yeah, I view DJ Moore as a net negative in this deal, so it actually makes me want the Aaron Jones side more in this particular deal. DeAndre Swift, he's just so risky to trade for. Or to
What if
I
it
don't
was
know what
Mike
to do with
Williams
them.
instead, just out of curiosity? Let's say I give you Mike
Dude,
Williams
I just
Swift.
don't.
You just duded me. Wow, I just
don't like buying these like injured players. Like
I
there's
know
so
that's
many
why I'm trying to
question
get rid
marks.
of them. That's why I'm trying to move on with them. See?
I don't think Dan Campbell believes in DeAndre Swift. That's the problem. He sees him as this like little niche toy he can use for 20 snaps a game at most, and that Jamal Williams is his workhorse.
Yeah,
Right.
I side with Aaron Jones here. I mean, he's getting the volume in his offense, and similar to Swift, I mean, he's still involved in the passing game, and so I would go with Swift or Jones.
All right, I'm gonna get real serious now. Tony Pollard for Aaron Jones. Which side do you want to be on, Erickson?
I'm gonna shoot for the moon here with Tony Pollard. I think that this is a deal that you can get done. Obviously, you can sell high on Aaron Jones, and look, this could totally not work because they could go right back to Zeke. But what if they don't? Like, what if they don't? Then Tony Pollard is a top 5 running back. Just saying.
Yeah.
Is Jerry Jones selling the team?
I mean, does Jerry Jones know? He said Zeke was going to play this week. Like, I don't know if he's really in the build. Like, I don't know what's going on. But Pollard is he's too tantalizing for me. So I would chase the dragon here. He's
actually wide receiver 16 already on the year, if you can believe it, Pollard.
Running back 16?
Minnesota. Yeah, RB 16. Sorry. Minnesota, New York, Giants, Indy, Houston, Jacksonville, Philly, Tennessee. That's the rest of his schedule too. Not too bad for Pollard. So testing your love of Jones here, Seifter. You want to go Aaron Jones or you want to go Tony Pollard rest of the season? Who would you rather have?
I do really love Tony Pollard, and I have had him ranked as like a top 20 running back every week, even when Zeke was playing, just because of the upside there. It only takes a few touches for him really to have a big game, but I feel like Aaron Jones is basically the same kind of player as Tony Pollard in that sense. Like it only takes a few touches for him to have a big game, but he's also going to get an additional 5 or 10 touches where he can just churn out 4 or 5 yards and boost that total. So for me, I got to still give the edge to Aaron Jones. I just don't trust the Cowboys based on everything they've shown. I mean, I trust Tony Pollard. Everything he's shown proves that he can handle the load when called upon, but the Cowboys just don't seem to want him to be that player, and they are trying to justify that Zeke contract still. And I just think it's going to be I still think Pollard will be an RB2, but he's not going to have the same ceiling once Zeke is back.
All right, I'm going to hit the boys up for their buy lows and sell highs of the week at RB. Before I do, just want to remind everybody, go out there. There's still plenty of time to use those Fantasy Pros tools at my playbook, including Trade Central, which is absolutely spectacular. I'm telling you right now, it'll automatically analyze every team in your redraft league to identify the strengths and weaknesses and find trade partners. So if you're struggling to find those deals in your leagues, this is the way to do it. Use my playbook. And remember, these premium tools are out there for you, and you can get them for 6 free months. If you go to fantasypros.com/offers, make a small deposit on one of our partner sites, go make a wager or two, go play some other fantasy stuff, and then go and get the Trade Central tool and all the tools at my playbook. Go download the app. It's free. Go check it out. Sync your teams. That's what you want to do at my playbook. The app is everywhere on all the app stores you could possibly find. Let's get to the buy lows. First at the RB position, Seifter, why don't you go first? Who is your buy low RB for week 11?
All right, my buy low is James Conner, and I know it feels a little weird to call Conner a buy low because he did just score 2 touchdowns last week, but he was just the RB21 in the consensus rest of season rankings at Fantasy Pros this morning, and I would guess in the population at large, he might be. There might be even more people sleeping on him. He was, of course, the RB5 last year. Now, I know that was boosted by touchdowns that we're not going to ever repeat. And so I'm not saying he'll be that good again, but I still think RB21 is awful low for a guy that could be one of the biggest bell cows in fantasy football down the stretch. He played 96% of the snaps last week, and that's not a misprint, 96%. And then the Cardinals went out and cut Benjamin after the game. So they've only got 6th-round rookie Keontae Ingram behind Conner, at least until Darrell Williams comes back, and he's still at least a few weeks away from returning. So I look at this stretch last season when Chase Edmonds was out. Conner played between 77% and 96% of the snaps over a 5-game span in the middle of last season. And during those games, he averaged 114 yards from scrimmage and 1.6 touchdowns per game. So those are pretty huge numbers. I'm not saying he's going to hit that because this offense is kind of dysfunctional, but I just think he's a good bet for 20 touches week in and week out. So he needs to be shooting up those rest of season rankings.
I like it. The strong finish pitch for James Conner. Let's go. All right, Erickson, you're up. Give me the buy low RB in your mind for week 11.
For me, it's Travis Etienne. So in week 10, he kind of had a down game, just 14 touches for 74 yards, 11 carries, and 3 targets. When he'd been seeing like north of 27 touches per game, basically, since the team got rid of James Robinson. So Etienne's coming off a bad week. Jaguars are on bye. So you got to strike now. Like, this is the only time that there's a potential buy low window. It's just like a little bit open for Travis Etienne. The Jaguars have a top 3 schedule rest of the season for fantasy running backs. They play the Texans in week 17. Like, what else do I need to tell people to be convinced that you need to go get Travis Etienne right now? Like, I would trade Aaron Jones to get Travis Etienne. I would trade Devontae Adams to get Travis Etienne. Dalvin Cook, Jonathan Taylor. Like, I want Travis Etienne on my team because he's going to win leagues in week 17. So go get him.
Yeah, got to get there though. Got to get to week 17, but I feel you, dog.
It's not like he's gonna suck. I mean, he's still been getting the work.
It was a down week. You're right. This might be the only window you get, and the window is shutting anyway because the trade deadline's around the corner. I'm with you. I like Connor. I like ATN. Excellent choices. Let's flip the script. Erickson, give me the sell high RB of the week for you.
So for me, it's Najee Harris, and looking back at his box score, 20 carries for 99 rushing yards. Those were both season highs for Najee Harris. So he, by definition, has to be a sell high because he's never actually come off a good game, or at least until this past week, without scoring any touchdowns. But look, Jaylen Warren saw his biggest workload in this particular game. The Steelers were true to their word about getting Jaylen Warren more involved, 9 for 37 on the ground. Harris only had 1 target. Warren had 3 for 40 receiving yards. They split receiving duties. So Warren is actually taking on a bigger portion of the receiving routes out of the backfield, which hurts Najee Harris because if the Steelers are trailing in games, he's not out there catching dump-offs from Kenny Pickett. Like, Jaylen Warren is getting more involved in that type of the game plan. So Harris, yes, he's been super frustrating to own all year, and he had a good game. And this is your opportunity to get out right now because Jaylen Warren's not going away. If anything, his role will increase, and now Najee Harris is also dealing with some knee injury.
I was just going to say, and on top of that, Tom literally about an hour ago just said he's dealing with some knee discomfort and won't practice much this week. So that doesn't make you feel warm and fuzzy. So I'm with you on the Najee. This is just your moment. 20 carries for 99. I mean, we just talked about it on the live stream on YouTube. You and I, would you take Dameon Pierce for him if you could pull that trade off? I think you would. If you could, or even piece Najee and something else together. 20 for 99 is your basic Dameon Pierce week, every single week. All right, Seifter, you're up. Give me a guy you want to trade at RB in week 11. Who is it?
All right. Well, this is less of a sell high than a sell before the floor completely falls out, and that's Leonard Fournette.
I'll take that too. There you go.
Yeah, he did score a touchdown this last week, so he had a lot of drama. He had passport drama. He injured his hip. He got benched. All these things happened. He did score a touchdown though, so if people are just looking at the box score, looking at their fantasy stats in their lineup, they might have been okay with that. They do go on bye this week, so that also makes it a little tougher to shop him. But the reality of the situation is there has been some positive news on the injury, so you can mention that in your trade talks that he's not likely to miss time, should be ready to go coming out of the bye. Of course, the bigger issue is that he is getting replaced by Rachaad White. His usage all year has been stellar, but his efficiency has just been awful. And I've just been waiting for the Bucs to make this change. And I think the injury really had nothing to do with it. They're just ready to move on and kind of phase out Leonard Fournette a little bit. I mean, he'll still play some, but he's still the RB10 on the season right now. And by the end of the year, it's going to be a lot lower than that. So you got to try to shop him now. If you get the chance. The Bucs also have the toughest remaining schedule for running backs in the entire league, according to FantasyPros' strength of schedule numbers. So if you could turn Fournette into someone like James Conner, that would be a massive W in my mind.
Excellent. There you go. You're trading your buy low and sell high for each other. I like that. You're the first person on the show all year to do that. Well done, Seifter. Well done.
Thank you.
You're not the other Andrew, not in my book. Let me tell you. He called you the other Andrew. I don't like that. You maybe the better Andrew.
First Andrew.
All right, let's play a little 3 and out listener mailbag time from our Discord. I'm going to throw some questions out at the gentleman here. And these all come straight from our Discord, which again is free to join, fantasypros.com/chat. Join the Fantasy Pros community. It's a bunch of crazy lunatics who love football and talk fantasy football all the time. We got baseball channel, betting channel. We got all kinds of stuff going on. Check it out, fantasypros.com/chat. Let's go to, I'm going to try to say this right, Javinto Fly 1021. I hope I did you well here. Bears fan in a 10-team single keeper league is coming at me hard and fast with Tua and A.J. Brown for Fields. It's a hell of a deal, but I can't get past the fact, what if Fields has gone full cheat code and stays there? It's a conundrum. So that's a lot for Fields. You're getting Tua and A.J. Brown. Erickson, is that a deal that you would just take regardless of whatever codes seem to have been unlocked here with Justin Fields the last few weeks?
Well, I mean, he's admitting that he's a Bears fan, so he's letting his fandom affect his role as a fantasy football manager. So you have to push your fandom aside. Like, I get that you're
well, no, he's saying the Bears fan is coming hard and fast, I think, after him. Is that what he's trying to say, right? Bears fan in a 10-team single league is coming hard and fast with me with Tua and A.J. Brown. They want Fields. So they are literally overpaying.
So yeah, let them overpay. Let them overpay.
Now, normally, Seifter, I always say, look, there's only so many guys that can win you a week here, but Tua is pretty high up on that QB trough this year. I think he's the highest rated quarterback in the NFL this year, or at least top 3 from Sunday. Would you take this deal also, Tua and A.J. Brown for Fields, and not look back?
I mean, if it's like a 12-team or deeper league, I think it's a no-brainer. With a 10-team league, it gives me a little pause because I'm just like, who is A.J. Brown replacing in your lineup? Because if you've already got more great receivers than you know what to do with, if it's just a choice between Fields and Tua, I actually would take Fields over Tua at this point. I think I wrote in my Fantasy Pros column this week that Fields is giving off Lamar Jackson 2019 vibes.
Dude, he's a weak winner, and there's not a lot of those guys.
Exactly. So that's the thing for me. But I would say, generally speaking, if AJ Brown is going to be replacing like a wide receiver 3 type of a player in your lineup, then I think I'd still be willing to do it. Because I mean, we're talking about Tua is still a top 5 kind of quarterback at this point. He's throwing for 303 every week.
All right, let's go to Lad96. Gus and Geno for Jeff Wilson Jr. I want to be on the Wilson side of this. Seifter, you agree?
Oh, yeah, I think so. I just don't trust the Ravens. I mean, Gus Bus, I love the guy, but the Ravens running back situation has just been a constant headache all season. And while Geno Smith is a great story, in a single QB league, he's not a real difference maker compared to other kind of, low end QB1s that you might have or be able to find even on your waiver wire. So Jeff Wilson, it's kind of lift off for him. I think clearly Mike McDaniel wants him to be the lead back. Raheem Mostert, keep him fresh with fewer touches. And Jeff Wilson has been really great this season when given the opportunity. It looks like he's going to continue to get the opportunity in Miami.
All right. Our old friend JMG24, J-Rob or Eli Mitchell. Erickson, which one you want rest of season?
I'm going to take James Robinson. It's because of the Jets playoff schedule. It's excellent for running backs. And I just think that Elijah Mitchell's numbers from the Sunday night game are just a little inflated. I don't think that he's going to see 18 carries per game and be a guy that's viable as an RB2 flex. Like, we do this all the time where a backup running back has a good game and we can flex him. It's like, yeah, we haven't been able to flex Kareem Hunt all year long. I don't think that Elijah Mitchell is going to have a big enough role, honestly. And James Robinson, he could come out and be the Jets' lead back. That would not surprise me whatsoever. Jeff Wilson did it. The team traded for him and they picked him up. So I could see James Robinson overtaking Michael Carter in the Jets' schedule, like I mentioned, the playoffs. Juicy. So I'll go with James Robinson.
Don't forget to go follow Andrew Seifter over on Twitter, Andrew_SEIFTR, and check out the rest of season rankings podcast that he hosts, as well as all his great work at FantasyPros.com. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Andrew Erickson and Andrew Seifter, I'm still Joe Pisapia. We'll see you next time, kids.
Thanks for tuning in to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. Don't forget to check out our featured videos. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at FantasyPros, so you can get the latest news and updates to give you the edge you need in your fantasy league.